So, what's the real playbook for building an absolute monster of an AI company, especially when giants like Google and OpenAI seem to own the entire field? Well, today, we're going to decode that winning strategy, drawing on some killer insights from investor Sarah Gu, who's backed some of the biggest names in the game.
Okay, let's just start with this number, $100 million. And no, that's not a typo. That's the annual recurring revenue some new AI companies are hitting in a single year. I mean, seriously, we have never seen growth this fast in any tech revolution before. It's insane. Which, of course, leads to the big question. With these behemoths, OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, building these incredibly powerful foundation models, how on earth can a tiny startup not just survive, but achieve that kind of, meteoric growth? To really get it, you have to grasp the sheer scale of this moment. Think of it like this. For the last decade or so, AI has basically been on dial-up. And now, all of a sudden, we've hit the broadband era. The capabilities are just exploding. And that means the opportunities are too. And look, this is not just hype. As Sarah Go says right here, the user adoption we're seeing right now is completely, totally unprecedented. People are just hungry for these tools. And when a product really nails it, the growth is, well, it's vertical. But that still leaves us with that core conflict, right? The shadow of the giants. A lot of builders feel like they're just picking up pennies in front of a giant steamroller. If the big labs are building the core intelligence, what's really left for anyone else to do? Now, you might think the giant labs have a monopoly, but this chart shows the exact opposite is happening. If you look at the data, you can see the market for these models is actually getting more competitive. Sure, OpenAI had a huge lead, but rivals like Anthropic with Claude and Google with Gemini are gaining serious ground. And for a startup, that isn't a threat. It's a massive opportunity. It means you get more choice, better prices, and way more power right at your fingertips. So here's the crucial point to understand. What was state-of-the-art last year is now widely available, it's cheap, and it's incredibly powerful. This commoditization doesn't crush startups, it empowers them. It gives them affordable, top-tier AI to build with. And this brings us right to the central thesis of this whole thing. The winning strategy isn't to go out and try to build a better model. No way. It's to build a better workflow. We're calling this the Cursor for X playbook, and it is the key to unlocking massive, massive value. And here's our prime case study, Cursor, an AI native code editor. It didn't just grow, it absolutely exploded. 500,000 developers signed up, driving it to $100 million in revenue in a single year, with no sales team. That's not just growth, that's a world-class killer application. So how did they do it? What's the recipe? Well, here it is. First, they knew their users inside and out. Second, they didn't just give them a lazy prompt box. They automatically packaged up the user's entire codebase as context. Third, they orchestrated a bunch of different models, maybe a fast, cheap one for simple stuff and a powerful, slow one for complex bug fixing. And finally, they presented the output not as some block of text, but seamlessly, right inside the code editor. It's a complete system. And this quote it nails the entire philosophy. Giving a user a blank text box and asking them to figure it all out, that's a failure of design. The best products, they do the heavy lifting for you. They understand your context so deeply it almost feels like they're reading your mind. This whole strategy is about building what's called a thick wrapper. And to make this idea really stick, we're going to use an analogy that I promise you won't forget. It is all about the burrito. Okay, so on one hand, you have the thin wrapper. Think of this as just a simple text box slapped on top of an API. There are 1,000 of these things, and they have no real defense. But a thick wrapper, like Cursor, is the total opposite. It's deeply woven into how someone actually works, it understands all the surrounding context, and it uses AI like a superpower to augment the entire process. That is where the value is. That is what customers will pay for. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the point. Just think of the AI model as the fill in your burrito, the chicken or the steak. It's important, sure, but it's becoming a commodity. The real business, the defensible long-term value, is in the wrap, the user experience, the workflow, the context you build around the model.
And this playbook isn't just for coders, not by a long shot. It's working everywhere. You've got Sierra automating 70% of customer service for huge companies. You have Harvey, which is completely transforming the legal industry. And open evidence is being used by a third of all US doctors every single week. You know what's fascinating? It's this super counterintuitive trend. The biggest, fastest adoption of AI is actually happening in historically low-tech, conservative industries like law and medicine. The opportunity for transformation there is just enormous. So what is the ultimate competitive advantage here? What's the moat? It's not your idea. It's not being first. It's not even which model you use. In this new world, the only truly defensible moat is execution. Let's just look at this tale of two companies. You had Jasper. They were an early mover in AI writing, raised a ton of money, but their product was basically a thin wrapper, a text box with good marketing. Then you have Cursor. They weren't first, but they out-executed everyone on product, on user experience, on everything that actually mattered. They built the thick wrapper, and they won. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial takeaway from all of this. Right now, the developers and the engineers, you guys saw the magic first. But the real opportunity, the real job, is to be the translator, to take this incredible raw power and apply it to every other industry in the world. And that's it. That is the playbook for winning in the age of AI. It's not about competing head-on with the giants. It's about building on top of them with deep, specific workflow knowledge and just flawless execution. So the only question left is, what problem, what industry, what workflow will you translate?